Richard Glenn Bonds, B-O-N-D-S, and that Glenn has two N's in it, G-L-E-N-N.
Okay. And when were you born?
November the 8th, 1924.
And where were you
Long
born?
time ago.
Yeah, it is. But a lady that my wife's partner interviewed died on her 110th birthday last Saturday.
Oh my.
Now, is that some perfect timing or what?
Yeah, wow. How about that?
Isn't that amazing? Where were you born?
In Texas, Montague County, and a little, about 10 miles north of Nocona, Texas. That's a little town, if you're familiar with the country there, about halfway between Wichita Falls and Gainesville in North Texas.
But where you were born was just out in the country. And
10 miles farther north than Nocona.
so it didn't really have a name.
No, it was country.
That was fairly common then.
Yep.
So, what was your parents' name?
My father was Richard Edgar Bonds, and my mother was Della Mae Goin, G-O-I-N, Bonds.
And did you have sisters and brothers?
Had two sisters, Wilma, the oldest, and she has passed away since last year. And Nana Lee was a younger sister than Wilma, but they were both older than myself.
I see. You were the baby.
Yeah.
How is it growing up with two older sisters?
Yeah,
Is
man,
that good or
I'll tell
bad?
you what, I got in a lot of trouble. They could get me in trouble real easy.
Right. What did your father do for a living?
He was a farmer and rancher. We lived out on a ranch, and we'll see some pictures, one picture at least, I think, of that site, and it was out on the prairie.
Right.
Now, surrounding that little patch of prairie country was there were creeks and woods and trees and all that good stuff, but we happened to, our home was out in the open.
And this is, could you call this North Texas?
Yes,
Okay.
North Central Texas.
I
Yep.
see. Did the Depression hit your family hard?
Oh man, that was now I was young, but I was still old enough to know what was going on.
You would have been about 6
Yeah.
when it hit,
And,
and then had 10 years to think about it.
It was rough on everyone. We were so blessed out there. In addition to just ranch country, we had farmland also, and we raised a diversified group of. In addition to feeds and hays and grain and all that good stuff, we had a big garden. And so it wasn't as hard on my family as it was on an awful lot.
Because at least you had food.
Yeah.
That was one time it wasn't a good thing to be a city boy. Because when the money ran out, where was the food going to come from?
Oh man, well, along about that time, there was the Roosevelt administration had started some agriculture programs, and one of them was to start trying to build up the soil that had been not on purpose, but it had been depleted pretty well over the years from not fertilizing properly.
Right.
Okay, and one of the a legume that really did help the land was the black-eyed pea. Well, and so the farmland, the planting of the black-eyed peas was rotated over a field and then over more fields and to try to build all the land up. And so there was always black-eyed peas every year. Then plus there was always a good garden. And folks would come to see us, and before they left, my mother, if my dad wasn't around, one of them or both of them would insist that the folks go out and gather a bushel of peas and gather whatever might be in the garden at that time too, and take it home with them. And they did. And it wasn't until years later that I realized that those folks really, their underlying purpose in coming to see us was because they knew they would get something to eat.
Right, right. I've heard that before. And it's nice to give someone a gift, but it's real nice to give someone food when they don't have any.
And that's right. And so we got through those years.
Did the dust storms, were you in the part of Texas where the dust storms were bad?
Yeah.
Okay.
I remember just gray dust that seemed to come from farther north out of Kansas or somewhere sometimes. But in addition to that, if the wind was really howling and a norther or a north wind coming in, it was just reddish brown sand, and some of it was just real fine silt.
And it would come in the house, regardless of what
everywhere.
you did.
You couldn't escape it.
Yeah.
One of the chores of family, including all of us kids, was to keep, during those times, was to keep the place swept out. And the windowsills brushed off.
Right.
Now, farther west from us was a country where the wind could really blow hard, and I don't know how substantial the paint was on cars then, but the sand in that case hard enough to blow sand off the farmland.
Yeah.
The sand would literally eat into the paint.
Right, it was like sandblasting your car.
Yeah,
I've heard that.
yeah, and it would. Boy.
Well, it must have.
Oh,
It must have felt like something bad had happened in the 30s because you've got the Depression and you've got a dust storm and,
man.
and everything going on at one time.
Yeah. Again, the federal government had programs. I don't know how extensive it was, but I know in West Texas, they planted barriers of fast-growing trees like salt cedar grove and then elm groves. And they
Like
built
like a windbreak.
dust barriers.
Uh-huh.
And those areas would literally build up into mounds. Fence posts could be buried sometimes in some of those places.
Well, somebody was telling me that one time it got so bad that in Washington, D.C., it was just black. The air was black. And somebody pointed up and said, "There's Oklahoma." Just blowing.
Yeah.
So I've seen little film clips of this, and it just looks terrible.
Yeah. For us down there, the West Texas was in worse shape than we were really. It was really bad.
where did you start the first grade?
And our little school was about a mile from the house, and it was Prairie Point.
Prairie Point. Yeah. Was it a one-room schoolhouse?
Well, no, it was a pretty neat little school.
Fairly modern?
It was a red brick school with a modern school with, no, we had outdoor toilets for the kids anyway. It was several classrooms and a gym, and it was pretty neat school for that time.
For that time?
Oh, it had just been constructed about the time that I started the school.
I see. Wonder if it was a WPA project.
It was.
Good.
People, that was one of the. It was a great relief for a lot of men who had to earn a living somehow or other, all around us, and well, I don't remember what the wage was, but it was pitiful. But it was real money that they could buy food with.
Right.
My dad paid $1 a day for during certain times of the year for men to come and do whatever he needed done.
From what I can tell, that was at least a living wage. You could eat for a month with a job like that.
Yeah.
Well, did you go all through the 6th grade or the 8th grade at this school?
Oh, by the time my high school years started, the school had been consolidated into a larger district. Valley View and Prairie Point consolidated, and the school became Prairie Valley. Prairie Valley School.
And so they had a Prairie Valley High School?
High school,
And
yeah, we had the whole works. And I graduated there.
What year was that?
1942.
1942.
Spring of 42, yeah.
Yeah.
I was 16 years old when I graduated from
Oh,
that
really?
school, yeah.
Really?
And that was because at that time in Texas, the school system had only 11 grades. And the next year after I graduated, kids had to go another year.
I see.
It
I've
was
heard of
a
that.
regular 12th grade, 12,
Right.
12 grades in school.
Well, let's see. If you were 16 in 1942, that's too young to go into the Army.
Yeah.
But I guess back up and tell me, how did you learn about Pearl Harbor?
Where were they? I know. It was a school day, I do believe. Yes, it was, and our teachers assembled us all in the gym and the study hall and the assembly hall all in one, and we had a big radio, school radio, and they brought it in and turned it on and turned it up for everybody to hear all of the talk that was going on about it. Yeah.
Right.
And it was just continual there for a day or two of news happenings of that.
A lot of people around here didn't know anything about Pearl Harbor. Their first question was, "Where's Pearl Harbor?"
Yeah.
So that's something that's kind of shocking to younger people because they grew up thinking everybody in the world knew all about Pearl Harbor,
sure.
but
My
that
goodness.
just wasn't the case.
No, not at all. And I certainly didn't know anything about a Pearl Harbor anywhere. I suspect that our teachers talked about it to us.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, Pearl Harbor was on Sunday, so that must have happened to you on Monday.
Yeah, okay, it did.
Yeah. And I've had several people tell me that they didn't know a thing about it till they went to school the next day.
That's right.
Yeah.
We didn't know My family didn't know a thing about it.
Yeah.
And when we got to school, the teachers were ready for us, and I would bet that most of the kids knew nothing
Right.
until school time.
At your house, did you all have electricity and running water and things like that?
No,
Okay, so you probably didn't have a radio either.
no, we didn't.
Not at that time. And
Not at that time.
that's what a lot of people didn't know about Pearl Harbor till the next day, because how would you know unless a neighbor drove over and said, "Hey, did you hear?"
Yeah.
But did that? You had 2 years there to think about it. Well, not really 2 years. You graduated in '42. Did you think during that last year of high school that you probably gonna get put in the Army or the Navy or something?
It really, I don't think it bothered us. It seemed so far away and unreal that we didn't dwell on it much, I think. Now, we knew about it and were aware. It was only after we graduated and I don't know what the girls did. Some of them went off to college and whatever, or stayed home. And a lot of the boys went to college, but about six, including myself, my buddies, went to National Youth Administration School in Ranger, Texas, to learn how to do something.
I see.
And pretty quick. It was so. I took courses in electricity and in electronics, and learned basic information there. It was a good place.
How far away was Ranger, Texas, from where you lived?
Okay. About 80 miles.
About 80 miles. So did you go there and stay all week long?
Yeah.
Okay, so this wasn't a back and forth every day thing.
No, it wasn't.
I see.
It was well established. You know, someone back early on, before the war and whatever, knew what was coming, and they sure did some good planning.
Yeah.
It was amazing. This National
Right.
Youth Administration had built dormitories, small ones, mess halls, and classrooms, and set this school up.
Did it cost you anything?
No. At that time we were.
They fed you and gave you a place to sleep and taught you all day.
And I think, I'm not sure about this, but it seems to me that they gave us a little, maybe $20 a month or something to live on. My mother signed a parental release for me to go. She had to sign the papers for me to go there, and she did.
And how long did you go to that school?
About 6 months.
Did this training give you a leg up when you actually went into the service?
It sure did.
That put you ahead of a lot of guys in line? Okay, I figured that would.
I think it must be that we sort of finished the course or something there, and it was time for us to move on, and we went to San Antonio. Well, we knew this program. We knew what we would do next. We went to San Antonio and enlisted in the Army Signal Corps Reserve. And there we got more schooling for a while. That was 43, anyway, it was the next,
Yeah.
the winter following graduation,
But you
42,
said-
that was 42 when
Yeah.
we went there.
Oh, you went there? I see.
Yeah.
But you said you signed up for the reserves,
Mhm.
so that's not like really signing up to go be shipped right off,
No,
is
it wasn't.
Right,
It was,
okay.
it was.
Because is it because you were still too young, just a little too young?
Yeah, I think it was,
Yeah.
yeah.
Okay.
But my birthday was November the 8th, and I spent that in San Antonio, I know. And so
you
it
would
was
have been
just the next
17
spring.
on that. You would have been 17 on that birthday.
Yeah, yeah. And so the next spring, well, there we did learn more about what we had studied in Ranger.
Mhm.
And we knew that that it would be an easy matter for them to transfer us to active duty from there,
Mhm.
which did happen next
Mhm.
spring.
So the next spring would have been 1944
40,
or
43.
43.
Yeah.
So you went to the school in Ranger and you went to the school in San Antonio all in 1942.
Yeah.
I see.
Graduated from high school, went to the
Mhm.
summer at Ranger, the fall and winter in San Antonio, the next spring into into the Army.
Into the Army. How did your mother take all this?
Well, wow, those folks, bless their hearts, they coped very well,
Mhm.
but they were sort of stoic people anyway, so
Mhm. Mhm.
they just did.
Right. Well, that next spring, do you remember when they inducted you right into the Army? What month that
Yeah,
was?
yeah, I wrote it down just to be sure. No, I just wrote in the spring. So I really don't, I can't, I've got a bunch of papers that you can copy
Yeah,
or
we'll
see.
find that out
and-
later then. But
the-
that's close enough. The spring of 43, I guess right about the spring of 43, things started going a little better for the United States.
Mhm.
I know I've been told 1942 was pretty disastrous and
Yeah.
lost a lot of guys.
Yeah, uh-huh.
And there's still a long way to go in 43.
It was,
Yeah.
yeah.
Well, when they inducted you into the Army, where did they send you?
We went into the active duty at Fort Sam Houston in San Antonio, and they sent us to Camp Kohler, California. It was a basic training camp for Signal Corps people, and we learned a lot there. Learned how to climb a telephone pole or a tree with climbing spikes on our feet, our legs, and how to string field wire and set up field command telephones and all that good stuff.
So the Signal Corps, when I hear that, I think of those guys with the flags. That's not really what you were doing. You were
No.
communication is what you were handling.
Yeah, it was.
Mhm.
It was, so we had Army basic training, just old
Mhm.
grunt and grind and help getting me out of here and all that good stuff.
Right.
I remember one thing that would happen every Saturday. Well, it didn't happen too often. We weren't there a long time, but they would bring in some kegs of cold beer
Mm.
and cold drinks, pops and stuff,
Mhm.
and some and cigarettes,
Mhm.
and we would have a time there for a while.
Right. I doubt you got much cold beer and cigarettes on the farm with your parents, did you?
No.
I thought so.
Well, that would be a whole other story, but you know, those old guys, my dad and his brothers and neighbor people all around, they all knew how to make home brew.
Mm-hmm.
And of course they did during those times, and
During Prohibition.
they had big fun doing
Yeah.
that.
Yeah. What happened after Camp Kohler?
Went to we were, or part of us went to New Orleans, just outside of New Orleans, near a lake
Pontchartrain.
Pontchartrain, yeah. Okay.
Mhm, mhm.
There was a camp there, and it was a center to handle transit guys going overseas, is what it was. I remember when we were there, a storm came through, and we were trying to get our gear together to get ready to go overseas, and it was a mess. We walked around barefooted in about 4 inches or 5 inches of water to get to and from some of the buildings, like a supply building or something.
Pontchartrain had gone up, and
Well,
all that's low.
all
of that
it was
around
just,
there.
if there happened to be a swale or a low place in the lay of the land, there'd be water in it.
Mhm.
And
Did
that's
you
what-
get to go into New Orleans when you were there? On leave?
You know, I don't remember ever going downtown.
Yeah.
I don't think I did. I know there was a near where we were, there was a seashore group of entertainment places,
Mm-hmm.
the Ferris wheel or whatever there
Right.
might have been there was
Right.
there. While we were there, we had to help tie down some planes for the Air Force, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
They were in danger of being, the wind would
Right.
hit them and tilt them. So we did that.
Y'all didn't encounter a Katrina, but you evidently encountered a pretty good storm,
Yeah, we sure did.
which is pretty common in the Gulf
Yeah.
of Mexico.
It was a storm.
Yeah.
And from there, I guess we weren't ready to go because they shipped me to Mobile, Alabama, on down the coast.
Mhm.
And I stayed there for 3 or 4 weeks, I think. It was, man, it was hot there.
Mhm.
And we worked in a building that it was a totally enclosed building. There were no windows at all in the building,
Mhm.
and the doors were kind of guarded or something, but it was it was more detailed training in electronics
Mhm.
there,
Mhm.
which came in handy.
I assume this building, the air conditioner didn't work very well.
Well, you know what? There in Mobile, Alabama, the building that I was working in, had a terrific air conditioner.
Really?
And it was cold in there. You get out about 4 o'clock in the evening, afternoon,
Really?
and the heat would just really hit you in the face.
Huh.
But we went back to New Orleans
Mhm.
and left New Orleans for New York City.
By train?
By troop train, yes.
Mhm. Mhm.
We rode a troop train up to New York.
A lot of the people around here, that was their first time on a train. So
Yeah.
that was kind of a big deal, you know, if you'd never been anywhere.
You bet. Yeah, man. Yeah.
Did you get to go into New York City for any fun, or did they just put you right on a boat?
No, we got there in the middle of the night, and they trucked us, or maybe the train stopped close enough. I'm not sure what, but anyway, we were on a ship straightway and ready to go
Well,
in a big convoy. Well, this thing, the ship we got on, it was a converted commercial ship of some kind, but it was adapted very well. They had anti-aircraft guns on that thing,
really?
and I'm not sure about launching.
You remember the name of that boat?
Wow. No, I don't.
Long time ago.
I don't know. That was like
Yeah.
the ship coming back was the Americana, I believe.
Was the ship that you went over on a great big ship, or medium size, or?
To me, it was a great big ship, but I think it was a medium-sized ship. Yeah.
Well, I know some of the bigger ships, they'd put 15,000 guys on them.
Oh,
And
well, yeah.
And I said, well, how do you have breakfast and how do you go to the bathroom when there's 15,000 guys on a boat? And they all said it was just it was terrible. It was messy. And half of them were seasick. Did you get
Sure.
seasick?
Yeah. Oh man, I got seasick. Yes. That was a new experience.
Yeah. And I'm sure zigzagging didn't help
No.
with seasick.
It was a pretty good sized convoy of ships, and we started out and they made they went north up near whatever's up there,
There's Newfoundland and
Newfoundland, and up kind of up the coast of the United States and then over, and big convoy, and we did a lot of maneuvering. The battleship Texas was on our right side and assigned apparently to a group of a few ships. I don't know how much territory they had, but they did a good job of going back and forth and patrolling, and
they were looking for German submarines.
yeah, and they did. There were a lot of depth bomb.
Depth charges.
We could hear the things, out, and a lot of sometimes that battleship Texas could get up pretty good speed if they wanted to, and they would whiz around and we didn't know what the situation was.
What they were up to.
But
Do you recall how many days it took to get across?
it wasn't a long time. More than 6 days.
Well,
I don't have.
there was fast boats and there were slow boats, and as I understand it, the fast boats could make it in 5, 6, 7 days, but some of them got stuck on old tin cans, and it would take 11, 12 days to get over there because they just couldn't go very fast. They were old.
Oh, I have a chow card with it's punched for every day. I guess. No, that would be for every meal.
Yeah. How hungry were you if you were seasick?
How
How hungry were you if you were seasick?
I'm not very hungry at all. Eggs for breakfast. I think we had boiled eggs.
Yeah.
I guess that was pretty good.
I've heard horror stories about the crossing,
Yeah.
and evidently you're built the way you're built, and you either are going to get seasick or you're not. And
Well, I was one of the ones that was built wrong for the ocean.
Yeah. Well, there was a lot of them told me that they were just green from the minute they left to the minute they landed. They were just so sick they thought they're gonna die.
Yeah. But we went up and zigzagged. Sometimes maybe we didn't zigzag. I think
Right.
we were free of fear, and we just took off and went. And we got to Glasgow, Scotland,
Mm-hmm.
and the Firth of Clyde
Mm-hmm.
was the bay that we went into. I guess Firth maybe is a river. I don't know what Firth
Yeah.
means in Scottish.
I don't know. I'll look it up.
But there we were, and safely. But by then, German planes were in the air a lot too,
Mm-hmm.
and we saw some skirmishes
Mm-hmm.
in the air,
Mm-hmm.
and but I got off the boat early. I went with a mail delivery crew down up the river to Glasgow,
Mm-hmm.
and delivered our mail. And okay, at that point I was a displaced person.
Right.
And didn't have anywhere to go except they took us to Scottish Army Camp Bella Houston. We stayed with the Scottish Army there for about 14 days before they could get us started down.
Had they just not assigned you to a unit?
At that point, no,
Okay.
we were not.
I see.
We were just going.
Were you sleeping in tents at night?
At the Scottish camp, we were in the barracks building.
They had real buildings.
Mm-hmm.
Mhm.
Yeah. And pretty, yeah. The mattress for the Scottish guys' beds was in 3 sections, and they were called biscuits.
Hmm.
We were issued 3 biscuits in a sheet for our bed.
And did it get away from you in the night while you were sleeping?
No,
They
they
didn't-
stayed pretty well.
They stayed
Maybe
together?
I suspect that there was a rail or something on the bunk.
I see.
Yeah. But now and there, we had there were Russians, displaced Russians,
Mm-hmm.
and displaced Canadians
Hmm.
and Australians. They were all there too.
That was quite a group.
Yeah. The Russians tried to learn to count to 100, I know, while we were there. And I think they made it. They were pretty bright boys.
Really? That's odd.
But we did get out of there and start south. We headed south down into England. We went by Loch Lomond.
Mm-hmm.
Beautiful place.
Mm-hmm.
We were up a little higher and we could see Loch Lomond down
Were you on a train or in
Yep.
trucks?
on a
On a
train.
train?
Troop train, I guess,
Right.
converted. And down into England from there.
And where did you go in England?
Birmingham, England.
Birmingham.
First stop.
Uh-huh.
And,
Well,
man, that
Had
was...
it been bombed?
Birmingham, as far as I know, had not been bombed.
Mm-hmm.
Now, there was an interesting thing there. We were in a converted warehouse or something,
Mm-hmm.
and apparently across the east side of England to whatever country it would have been over there on the continent, wasn't too awfully far, because at night the Germans would launch the first rockets that they had was called a V1, and early on, when we were there, they had a V2 rocket that they were using.
It was just a more powerful rocket.
No, it was more powerful, and it sounds, to describe their sound, if you can imagine a huge motorcycle way up in the air, that was the sound they made.
But the big danger was when they quit making a sound, right?
Yeah,
That meant they were coming to visit.
We were always thankful if we heard them progressing over us. If perchance one of them cut out too far back, we knew that it was on a glide pattern, and it would land somewhere.
Yeah, close to you.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's got to be a terrible thing.
Oh, yeah. They really were pretty fearsome, and they could do an awful lot of damage to those cities, to the English cities. They did, yeah. Yeah. London, particularly, they like to hit London.
Yeah,
Really good.
I guess that was their main target.
We went from there. We didn't stay there long. Okay, because that was just simply a way station. We ate and slept for a while and went on, and went to Colchester, England, on the east coast, and stayed there some time. We were totally unaware. I was. Some of the guys may have known history a little bit, but it was a historical place. I didn't appreciate it because I didn't know it.
Right. Well,
Only in reading about it later did I find out why.
18, 19-year-old kids aren't very interested in that sort of stuff anyway, no matter where they are.
And also we learned later that that this was part of the plan of war to the Germans apparently believed that the Allies were building up a big force in that corner of England on the east of London and all around, and in preparation of an invasion of the continent from that point. And they were successful in that ploy. I think, pretty sure they convinced the Germans that, man, we have to move all of our stuff over here because they're coming. And that's what they did.
So they faked him out.
Yeah,
faked
them out. We faked them out.
Yeah.
We had to use a road map, if we went anywhere, because we didn't. All the road signs were down. There was no indication at all of where you were, and the beaches were filled with obstacles designed to
stop an invasion.
Yeah,
from the sea.
To stop the invasion. Yeah.
Right. I've seen pictures of that.
Which I think they knew that. I don't know if they really expected an invasion there or not, but they were ready anyway. And stayed there a little while. I did see we got to go one day and I saw the remains of a building that had to be, I don't know, it was ancient. It was one of the first buildings in probably on that part of England.
It was an ancient ruin.
Yep. And I only learned this later too, that Coleus, King Coleus, from a continent somewhere, and I guess he was Norseman or I don't know what he was, but anyway, he had an army and went to England and took over that part of England, and he was the first monarch in England, King Coleus. And so thus Colchester.
That's where the name came from?
Yeah.
Huh. Well, that must be 800, 900,
I think it
something
was,
like
it
that.
was 900 years probably,
Yeah.
because he reigned in about 150 A.D. Or a little after that maybe.
Yeah. Well, that's ancient times. Had they attached you to a unit yet?
Pardon?
Had they attached you to a unit or a company or something like that yet?
No,
Not
I was
yet.
still floating.
I see.
And then from there, I did get attached to, from there, Eisenhower's headquarters were, I don't know where it was, but it was kind of south. It was toward the coast, but not very far away, I suspect, from London. I was sent to the Allied headquarters area of operation, and just simply as an enlisted man to work and whatever needed to be done there. And I did that for a while, and I believe that's where I got attached to my unit.
I see.
And from there on, we knew we were headed pretty soon.
Was this all the build up to D-Day?
Yeah.
Yeah.
We saw the first jet aircraft early one morning, and it was amazing. It was a.
Was it German?
It was an awesome Spectre.
Was it a German jet?
No, it was a British jet.
It was a British jet.
Uh-huh.
I see.
Yeah.
One time I knew the name of their first jet, but it escapes me now. But,
Oh, well, I'll say, and the one we saw, I don't know, maybe they'd been making them a while, or maybe it was the first
I
one.
don't think they
know.
made very many. I mean, compared to B-17s and that sort of
Yeah.
thing, I think they just made a handful of those.
Yeah, and it was a fighter plane, a small plane, and so.
Well, that was really a wildly different thing, because a fast propeller-driven plane would go about 300 miles an hour.
Yeah.
and these jets, which were terrible, as I understand it, they
wow.
were terrible planes compared
Yeah.
to what came later, but they would do like 600 or 700 miles an hour,
I think he must have been.
which was just,
It was the speed that he came across the sky. We were just awestricken.
just unbelievable.
Yeah.
That's
But we were there, down below there, then with the unit that I was going with, and we witnessed an awful lot of air activity, terrible, intense in nature.
This is
British
still
had-
at Colchester?
No, we had left Colchester.
You had left there.
And we're further inland,
That's
toward
right,
the
you
center
said
of
that.
England, and then south.
Right.
And the British had, they had searchlights, big ones. They had barrier, balloons in the air, big ones,
Right,
with steel cables
right, I've seen a
down.
picture.
As an obstacle. And of course, I don't know how effective they were, but they tried to snare planes out of the air with them.
Right.
And then there was always anti-aircraft guns, and the spotlights could pick out, those guys were great at finding German fighter, or German light bombers, I guess they were, Messerschmitts or something. They could spotlight one of them, and straight away there would be rapid fire on that guy.
Yeah.
He was lucky if he got out
Right.
after having been spotted.
Well, that's another thing, seeing pictures of the flak that our planes flew through, which was the same thing these German planes were flying through. It just, how any of them made it through, you know, because it just looks like you could open the door and walk on it. It's so thick,
Yeah,
you know.
yeah, it was. Huh. By that time, we knew we were headed to a staging area somewhere south, and sure enough we were.
What group had you, what outfit had you been assigned to?
The 877th Signal, Army Signal Corps unit.
And so the troops of all kinds and equipment of all kinds started assembling around you
Yeah.
in preparation for D-Day,
Oh yeah.
which I don't guess they set you down and said, oh, we're fixing to amass this giant group and go over and climb Normandy. You know, as I understand it, they gave the average foot soldier very little information other than go, you know.
Right. Man,
Yeah.
we just went, whatever they told us in the morning, we did.
Yeah.
It was, but it all turned out great. The night activity, other than the fighter, the flak, or the bombers, who went on further in toward London, I guess. The V2 rocket then was perfected pretty well, and we got a lot of those coming in. At the final staging area, first night we were there, they had 4-man tents set up with a cot, and so there were 4 of us to a tent, big cities of tents, and one V2 rocket hit the tent, hit the, it was an open ground in front of the tent where we were, hit a spot, I don't know how close it was to us, but I thought it was just right there. Hit the ground and dug a huge hole in the ground, big as this room, I guess, and blew it. I was in a cot, on a cot, asleep when it glided in, and then the explosion. Well, next thing I knew, I was lying in just outside of the tent. They let us dig little trenches for safety to be in, you know. Good grief, I've forgotten what we call them, foxholes?
Foxholes.
Foxhole, dug a foxhole right outside, and it blew me into the foxhole.
Out of your tent.
Out of the tent.
Off the cot.
Through the wall of the tent.
That's,
into the foxhole, yeah.
That's plenty close enough.
That was close enough for
Yeah.
me. That was my first, and thank goodness it was far enough. We had the, oh, maybe we were close enough. We had the percussion from it, but we didn't have any debris. So we had to be just kind of right to the other side of it.
Right. Well, you were very lucky. However it worked out. Now then, after you got blown out of your tent, what happened to you next?
Okay, we got to see huge fields almost of glider planes.
Oh.
They were made of wood.
Mhm.
I went in a couple of them, and there was hardly anything there except the pilot's seat and his guiding equipment for the plane,
Right.
because his primary, the ones that we saw were going to be troop carriers,
Mm-hmm.
and they would a plane would bring them in loaded to some critical point and cut them loose,
Mm-hmm.
and they would glide down to areas that they wanted to go to. And they were made of plywood, and so on impact, they probably, I would guess that every one of them sort of came apart.
Mm-hmm.
But the guys got out and went their way, and also they carried equipment.
Mm-hmm. As I understand it, they weren't very successful. And
No.
a lot of guys got killed because it just.
I wouldn't be surprised. They appeared to be kind of clumsy.
Mhm.
I couldn't figure out how a pilot could manage those things if they were loaded heavy.
Right. Well, they
And I think,
made out of wood and
yeah. Uh-huh.
and cut loose from an airplane, and
Wow.
no telling where they were going to land. It just seemed like a really bad idea to me.
Yeah. But they were there anyway. And then on D-Day morning, no, it was probably before, there must have been a lot of airfields in that country,
Mm-hmm.
because the hundreds and hundreds of airplanes that were coming over us going into Normandy,
Mm-hmm.
or on in, no telling where, maybe on in, I don't know where they were going. But anyway, we were in a pattern where they had a lot of air traffic. And so you're talking about the planning of all of this, you know. Someone, we had some mighty smart people who
Mhm.
figured it all out.
Mhm.
The logistics of the whole works was amazing.
Right. Well, just directing traffic on 16 million American soldiers, it just isn't. I can't imagine how you
Yeah.
do that. And of course, there was mistakes. Sometimes we bombed our own troops, like at
Yeah,
the Battle of the
yeah.
Bulge, and but still, for the most part, heavens, that was just a miraculous deal.
Anyway, then D-Day happened, and we had two trucks equipped with pretty good sized transceiver radio equipment, and some fuel to run the generator for them. No, I'm not sure about that, but anyway, they were lost in the initial landing,
Hmm.
and the guys, I think we had 4 men who were lost in that too.
And this is landing on the beach at Normandy.
Yeah, at Utah Beach.
That's where you landed. Yeah.
And now the bulk of us followed that up, and I actually don't know how many days it was after that we came on, but I do know that it was near enough that we were pretty apprehensive about what was ahead.
Right.
One interesting thing that happened there on the day that we went in, we were wearing wool uniforms.
Mm-hmm.
They were gas impregnated with chemical to repel gas.
Hmm.
And they apparently, and I don't remember carrying those with us anywhere. We were issued those things somewhere near, but it was true. So the Allies expected the Germans to revert to use of poison gas at that time, but they did not.
They didn't. Right.
Yeah.
I can't imagine a uniform doing you much good.
Oh, we were just in pain. We were so hot.
Yeah. Did they give you? Was there a gas mask went with it?
We had a gas mask, but it was separate from
Right.
we just had that and never.
But this is June, and that's probably a little warm for wool.
It was terribly warm, and the hills that we had to climb seemed like it was a long, steep hill where we got to the top, and we were just about giving out by the time we got there.
Yeah. So did you go in on D-Day or
No.
D-Day plus 1 or 2 or?
Plus, for us, we were behind. Oh, we did get some trucks in earlier. I think it might have been D plus 4. It was 4D. It was 4th day in.
Okay. Well, lucky that it wasn't the first day, according to what I've seen and read.
That was terrible.
Yeah.
Well, it was still pretty intense
Right.
when we were there. I mean, where we were, because in a short time, the Battle of St. Lo was just over the hill.
Right. And that was a terrible battle.
Yeah.
There wasn't anything left of St. Lo
No.
from the pictures I've seen.
No, I'll guarantee. Yes, it was.
Gravel.
It was, and the buildings were old and made of stone, and that was amazing to see those things just
Right. Just flat.
demolished.
Yeah. And somebody was telling me about the Germans in the graveyard. When our troops first got there, they had dug in the graveyard and was literally shooting at our troops out of the graves.
Oh my!
So at St.
That
Lo,
was
which was kind of evidently there was a spooky quality to that on top
yeah.
of dangerous and
Oh my!
all that.
Well, okay. At that point, soon after that, well, we stayed in one place, some Frenchman's, some old Norman's peach orchard. Well, he was pretty well off, I guess. He had a big orchard, and he had a winery where he made brandy or something, I guess. I don't know what.
And that's where you all were camped out?
Yeah. I remember the peach trees were big, and yeah, it was a peach tree where we were. I was rather. If a flak got pretty heavy, and from German planes overhead being shot at, it would really come down, and you needed to be in a safe place from our own
From your own side?
own flak.
Yeah.
And the best place to be was up against the trunk of a good old tree. And you could hear those things cutting through the leaves as they hit. Sound like they just came straight down, but I guess they were at an angle. And we stayed there longer than we wanted to, I think. I remember the first Sunday, maybe it wasn't the first Sunday, but a Sunday that we were there, the old French family came out of their compound with the dad leading on a Sunday morning, the dad in front, and the mother, and or the grandfather, I guess, and so forth,
Mhm.
and the kids all trailing down behind.
Mhm.
They were all dressed in their best Sunday clothes
They were heading for church?
and slogging along in the mud,
Huh.
but they were going to church.
Yeah.
They intended to get to church.
Huh.
That was a sight.
Well, if there hadn't been war going on, that was probably a beautiful place where you were camped.
Yes,
You know.
I'm sure it was.
Yeah.
I'm sure it was. It was sandy, I know. It was easy to dig a foxhole there.
And were you all stringing telephone line, things like that? Is that what you?
No, we didn't. We weren't in an area where that was needed, or we weren't sent to an area where it was needed.
Mhm.
So no, but we did have we had radio. We did a lot of radio communication.
I see.
And I got sick there. I don't know what I had, but we didn't have access to medics,
Mhm.
except if one of us was really bad off.
Mhm.
They'd have to take us to medics if we did that.
Mhm.
We were on half rations.
Mhm.
I remember that. And the whole thing was pretty tense.
Hmm. Imagine
Yeah.
so.
And then we moved on. The movement across the country was pretty rapid. Once
Mhm.
we got away from St. Lo
Right.
and on toward the interior of France then.
Mhm. Mhm. Did you go through the hedgerow region of France?
Yeah, so.
With all the hedgerows, it was-
Yeah. Mhm.
Yeah.
England had a lot of hedgerows
Mhm.
too. But yeah, I remember those. That was, yeah, that country was pretty. I'm sure it was a pretty country.
I've never been there, but I'm told that after the war, when people went back, they were amazed at how beautiful these places were
Yeah, I'm sure
when
they
they
were.
weren't bombed to pieces, you know? And
Yeah.
it tends to remove the beauty pretty quick.
Oh, one interesting thing I forgot to mention. Closer to the seashore, the Germans had their big guns mounted in the concrete bunkers and all that good stuff. But the battles that took place early on, the Germans had been on a bivouac training period,
Mm-hmm.
and they were using wooden bullets loaded into their cartridges, wooden bullets to shoot. And we found evidence that what they did was shoot wooden bullets at our soldiers. I never heard of any of it
I've never
getting
heard
killed
of
with
that,
a wooden bullet, but
but I
they sure
assume,
did do it.
yeah, I'd assume you don't want to get shot with a wooden bullet either.
No.
Hmm.
And, but they used those for training,
Hmm.
and then well, in the face of an invasion, they used them trying to kill
Right.
allies.
Right. Did you just continue going across France?
We went, yeah. Our company, we went. Well, a few of us went in the capture of Paris. Our company commander went, and I don't know how many more, but not a lot. But we followed pretty soon afterward, and and getting through France, getting through Paris was no problem either. We just zipped right through it. I remember somebody, where we were, the Moulin Rouge was in our pathway,
Really?
and so we got to see that. The French were celebrating just
Right.
wildly
Right.
at that point,
Right.
and there was an awful lot of young French men and girls and people. A lot of them had. I remember. I don't know what the occasion was, but they had some sporty looking cars. They were real fine cars, you know, and they were wildly driving in, skidding to a stop, and having fun, I guess.
Right.
But that was part of their nightlife by then. Well, we hit that place, it was dark. I thought that we were traveling in Jeeps, mostly. We had trucks too, they carried gas. But I thought we drove through the Arc de Triomphe. I could have sworn we did, but a guy told me last year that said, well, I doubt it. I don't think you could drive through there. So I've got to find out if we actually did or not.
I don't know. I think
we would have if we could have done it. We did.
I think I've seen pictures of cars driving through the thing.
Yeah, I think so.
I think so too. I'll check on that.
Anyway, up to last year or the year before, I always told the story that we drove through the Arc de Triomphe in Paris. Then we went on from there to Reims, R-H-E-E-M-S, I think, Reims, France, and stopped there. Really stopped for quite a while.
Really?
So,
Had the fighting stopped there?
No, it was that we needed to regroup,
I see.
and we were always kind of scattered out. A lot of us were sent on detached service somewhere, and we would always come back. But we were in tents there, 4-man tents. Had to set up our own camp in that case. Man, it was cold.
I was going to say, wintertime's got to be coming into this story somewhere.
I truly think that it was one night in particular, it was 20 degrees below zero. Now, I may be mistaken,
Yeah.
but that's my story. We went,
And you're in a tent.
yeah,
Yeah.
and we went into Reims and confiscated some merchants' supply of wood and coal or coke stoves. They're little round stoves, but in a tent they did pretty good.
Right. Well, somebody else told me when they first got to England, they stayed in a tent, but they said it wasn't just a tent. They said it actually was a big thing that had a stove in it, and
Well, I'll see.
but it was more like an 8-man tent, and but it had a stove that came with it, and they said that it wasn't so bad, but every once in a while it'd be really, really cold, and you really couldn't get comfortable in it.
Well, we got so cold, we went on two or three times, take trucks out at night, and the French people they cut in their woods, they'd cut wood, firewood, just about the right length to go in those little stoves. And so we'd go out and get a load of wood and bring it back and fire those little stoves up.
Yeah.
We'd keep them going all night long.
Yeah. And it made it bearable.
Oh, yeah, yes, it was bearable. But to let you know how cold it really was, of course our breath inside the tent gave moisture to the air, and natural moisture anyway. By morning, now to try to stay warm, we would pull our raincoat up over our sleeping bag as far as it would go. Right. And I guess that helped a little bit, because by morning the ice was on the inside of the tent, and ice was on the rubber, the raincoat. The rubber, inside the raincoat was a little coat of ice.
That's
now
too
that
cold.
was cold.
Yeah, that's too cold.
We stayed there quite a while, and actually did some work, maintenance. There was a lot of aircraft radios that needed repair and attention, and we
that
did
was
that.
something you all could do.
Yeah, we did. We had there was a big warehouse there that we converted to a shop, and we went to work and repaired a bunch of radios.
Radio, huh?
I don't remember any other electronic equipment that we worked on except the radios, and they needed those.
That was pretty important.
Yeah.
Business. And I guess all the radios were tube radios.
Yeah.
And I'd think bouncing around in a Jeep or a truck or just the ones on your back, but that had to be hard on tubes.
Oh, well, they were made pretty sturdy.
Yeah.
They really were. They're pretty good. We were amazed at the German radios. They were the frame for the radio, instead of being pressed sheet metal, and bent and all that good stuff, there was aluminum, and it was machined. The frame was a machined aluminum, so that it was really sturdy, and the tubes were encased in metal with a little top part that you could catch hold of and pull out of its socket and replace it. And they were ahead of us on that technology.
Yeah. Well, Germany was known for fine machine work and I don't know what I'm trying to say, but anyway, they were good at that sort of thing, at metals. They were good at metals.
Yeah,
And,
they were, yeah. That was a pretty good base operation there. We had some emergency type things that somebody had to have a radio in a command car or something straightway, and we could handle it.
Yeah.
But we did. The winter was coming on pretty good, because 6 of us were sent to the 9th Armored Division, and we were attached to the 9th Armored Division for a while. And they had come fresh from the States. In Luxembourg, down down south of what was to be the Battle of the Bulls, finally. And we put a British radio. It was a 522. 522 was a nomenclature of it. And it had 5 channels that you could dial up a channel. That was the first, the British developed that radio.
Right.
Oh, that's a story I've got to tell you. And so we put them in the command cars for the 9th Armored Division. And got away from them just about the day before they took off for what was to be the Battle of the Bulls. They were headed that way. And about 4 of our guys stayed with them. Wow, all 4 of those guys were killed. Kind of a rough time.
Right.
While we were there, one side assignment was to ferret out Germans from. There was a string of hills, cliffs rather, and there was caves along the cliff wall, and the Germans had resorted to sniping at us from up there. Every night there at that staging area, there was probably 1 or 2 guys that got shot with that, because they were there up there, you know.
Right.
And so we got them all out and got our stuff done. And about half of us went back to Reims, and the other half went with the 9th Armored Division into the Battle of the Bulls, which that was late in December or something when that happened.
I believe so. It was cold.
Yeah, it was cold, yeah.
And snowy.
Prior to that, I was sent on I was sent on a secret mission. We were at Reims, and they sent me to on secret orders to go from Reims, France to Paris and catch a plane to go to Heathrow Airport in London, out of London, and get with a British unit and learn about this new radio.
Oh, the new 5-channel radio?
And that's what I did.
Yeah.
That was an interesting trip,
Yeah,
I guarantee you.
that would be interesting too.
The
field you were in.
I didn't have any trouble getting there. Someone all along the way knew what to do with me, and they did. And in Paris, I guess it was, they gave me $300. Yes, to take in case I needed it, I guess. I needed a lot of it.
Yeah.
Anyway, we stayed. I stayed there about 2 weeks. And
learning this radio.
Learning this, yeah,
I see.
the new radio. 5-channel transceiver, and it was used for air-to-ground work, communication, and it worked very well. And they had lots of them in production by then, and so we had all we needed. I got back and discovered that about half of my whole unit had gone with one Army brigade, one Army unit or another. The ones that would volunteer to go were given field commissions for second lieutenant, and they got the fun of leading a troop of boys somewhere, whatever they had to do, you know. And I don't know how many of our, we never did have a count on how many of our guys really got killed. But some of those boys did. Of course, by that time, they were with someone else. They weren't with us. But that sort of an indicator that things were getting pretty tense as far as logistics, getting other officers in there to lead the troops. They didn't have them. And so they recruited from our outfit to if any of them would go, they'd get a commission on the spot. And of course that was pretty, lots of them took up the offer.
Right. But as I seem to remember that second lieutenants got killed a lot. I don't know if that's all throughout the war or just through one part of it or one region. But because I remember guys tell me about they'd have a second lieutenant, and then 2 days later they'd have a new second lieutenant and a new second lieutenant after that.
He was the guy out there leading them.
Yeah.
And so, well, anyway, I got back there and was met with that fact that a lot of the guys were gone. And so after that, well, it wasn't just people that were short. Gasoline, fuel, the fuel system, fuel lines, it was amazing how they could lay miles and miles of gasoline, aluminum pipe with quick connections on the ends, how they could lay that and keep up. But we knew it, but a lot of people did not know that we were getting short of fuel. And so by that time, the Battle of the Bulge had commenced, and we needed fuel desperately. And things got pretty tight. I know we, of course, we all had wills made out, and we had committed ourselves to the specter of possibly being overrun. We didn't know how the Battle of the Bulge would turn out. And I remember thinking, well, someone would probably surrender us all as a group, you know. And I was thinking, good grief, if we live, it'll be, what was that year? It'll be 1949 before we can get out of here. But we did. It wasn't really that long. The Battle of the Bulge was just commanding people, officers, headquarters knew that we could handle it all right. But we didn't know it, and the reality of it was pretty awful. We got a lot of, long about that time, we got German parachuters, paratroopers, would come in at night and parachute into the woods or something, you know, and most of those, some of them would give themselves up.
Mm-hmm.
You know, they wanted to.
Right.
They weren't interested in killing us. They were interested in
Right. Well, they,
getting to.
as I understand it, after the Battle of the Bulge, the handwriting was pretty much on the wall for the German
Yeah.
people. They figured that was.
Yeah.
I mean, the
Yeah.
people and the soldiers figured the end was near,
They
and
sure
there's
did.
a lousy time to get killed.
Oh.
You
yeah.
know.
Yeah. We went just soon. I guess it wasn't even over. But we went on into Germany as a unit,
Mm-hmm.
and there was a town, Mönchengladbach,
Mm-hmm.
as best I can interpret it.
They had crazy
Uh,
names.
Anyway, we went there and set up a shop in a big warehouse, and it was there. We were there when the war ended.
Well, that's where you were when the war in Europe ended.
Yeah, I mean in Europe
Yeah.
ended.
Yeah.
I know we knew that the Allied commanders prevented our guys from going into Berlin, and the intent was to let the Russians get there first. For some reason, that's the way the war was planned.
Right.
And the Russians did get there first, and our guys followed
Mm-hmm.
straightway. But the Americans, the British were ready to just go right on, but they had to hold back.
Mm-hmm.
That was interesting.
Well, when the day the war ended, were you in a town or out in the woods someplace? The war in Europe.
You know, we were there at Mönchengladbach. We were.
What I'm getting to is, did you all celebrate?
Boy, I think that it was looking back on that, I think our reaction was just what, shocked relief
Mm-hmm.
or something, because I don't think we really celebrated.
Yeah.
I think we just stopped and breathed and relaxed and.
I think it depends on where you were. From what I hear, some people celebrated, but some people just went, "Good, it's over."
Yeah.
You know, and they were all they started thinking about was, "When do I go home?"
Yeah. Oh, I know why probably that happened for us. It was about that time that we got news, instead of getting to go home and be home, you know, the war's over, we had to go to take the news and digest it that we were to go home for 30-day rehabilitation and recuperation and go to the Pacific Theater of Operations.
Right.
I remember that now.
Yeah.
And we had, by that time, begun to pack up all of our equipment and put the weapons in Cosmoline and designate them for a dot or something that indicated the color, a certain place in the Pacific where we were going. We that was really a bad time for us.
Right. Well, everybody's told me that was the thing they feared the most. The people that were in the European theater,
Yeah.
a lot of them got told, "Well, you're going to go home and then you're going to go to Japan."
Yeah.
And that was terrible news. Nobody in the European theater wanted to go
Oh man.
to the Pacific.
No.
Well, did that wind up coming true, or did the war get over with before?
Yeah, the war by then was over in Europe.
You know,
And we went to the coast, and I don't remember the name of the town where where we left from on the continent, and in a ship again, the Americana this time,
Right.
bigger, nice big ship, and headed home to go to Japan.
Right.
Well,
How soon after the war in Europe was over in May? How soon did you get back to the States?
It was pretty quick. We
A couple of weeks or something like that.
yeah, I think so.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay.
we I guess we had started preparing previously, maybe even before the war had actually ended. We were pretty well into getting ready to go. Yeah.
So you came home and went to Texas?
Yeah.
Did you go by train from wherever part of the coast you hit? Where'd you land?
Boston Harbor.
Boston?
Yeah, went on a train, on a train rather. I don't think it was a troop train. But anyway, we got back to Kelly Field in San Antonio, Texas.
Was that close enough for any of your family to come see you?
No, it was pretty far across the state from there. So, rode a bus from there to Nocona, across the state.
So you got to go home the minute you got back to Texas to start your 30-day leave.
Yeah.
Yeah.
This reception in Boston Harbor was really something. There's harbor craft, you know, all quite a bit of activity. There was a harbor vessel of some type that had been outfitted for this purpose, with a deck that was pretty neat and fitted out for people to stand and be at one spot. Louis Armstrong, his band, were on the deck, and this ship came. All the harbor craft were spraying water and all that good stuff, and our boat actually listed. If they were on one side, the boat would list down, and if they were, when everyone knew they were going around to the other side, that old boat would tilt the other way.
Yeah, all those bodies on one side, it's
Man,
not good.
It was amazing.
Yeah.
And what was the song? Gonna Take a Sentimental Journey.
Well, I'm sure that was about the best place you'd ever seen in your life with the day the boat pulled in there.
I had one strange experience there, and I can understand it, but when we debarked and down the gangplank, there were a lot of people, Red Cross or whoever, service people, women, with milk and fruit, all of that. And it was early. We got off the boat on an early morning. It was when people were going to work, and the harbor, the wharf and area where we got off the ship was very close to a downtown portion of Boston. And I feel sure that a lot of other guys felt the same way I did, and it hit them uh, these people going to and fro and going to work and had a briefcase and a newspaper under their arm and all dressed very nicely in suits and the ladies looked pretty in their right colors, girls and women, and they were going about their day. And of course, now they had seen a lot of troops, and this wasn't new. It was not new to them.
Wasn't new to them, right?
So they paid hardly any attention at all to these guys. And I remember I became angry. I thought, well, what are these? What do these people think? Anyway, we got off and spent one night in Boston, and we were on our way to San Antonio. That was a long time ago.
Yeah. Well, I imagine, places like New York and Boston and Norfolk News and places like that that had 4 years of ships coming and going.
Yeah, it meant nothing to them.
It probably did seem like just another day to them.
It was just another day, but man, to us it was a whole new world.
Yeah, I imagine so. Well, I get when you took a bus into Nocona, did your parents know you were they expecting you?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah,
So were they there to
knew.
meet the bus?
No. Oh no, they weren't. The exact day that I would get there, they didn't know, and I didn't have sense enough to call them and tell them that I was coming.
Yeah.
So I surprised them that much. They knew that it would be very
It was
soon.
coming, but
Yeah.
so did you take a cab home or
No,
hitchhike?
I saw a neighbor of ours in town, and he and his family took me to our home house, and surprised my family at that point because here it is,
Yeah.
And it was a good reunion. Actually, they were my younger sister had married and was living in Fort Worth, and one sister, my older sister, was home, and they had decided to one way people supplemented their income on the farm was to raise chickens and turkeys, and they had equipped some chicken houses with a wire floor and a way that they could clean out the underside of it, and they were raising chickens clean off the floor.
Off the floor, yeah.
And those chickens brought a premium price when they sold them. And they were fattened out a little better too, and so, and they sold some premium chickens there for a while.
And the chicken.
But anyway, they were working on that when I got there.
One of your sisters went to work in San Antonio, isn't that right?
In Fort Worth, yeah. Yes, she did. Beth.
Building airplanes.
Yeah,
right?
this was Wilma, and just about as soon as she could get away, I'm sure, she and Aunt Georgia went to Fort Worth and went to work for the Consolidated Aircraft Company Corporation, and they built B-17s and B-29s early on in the war, and she worked there during the war.
And so was this other sister that was raising the chickens?
Oh no, she had quit down there and had come back
I
home.
see. Okay.
And was just there kind of.
I just wanted to know who
What
to
to
give
do
credit
next.
for those
Yeah.
fine, expensive chickens.
Yeah. The sister that had married, but lived in just out of Fort Worth.
Now, had you met your wife by this time?
No, well, I knew her,
You knew her.
and after coming home and hanging around town for a while, we got together.
Yeah, but
And
you're
fell
still
in
on a
love.
30-day leave, right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
uh-huh. We didn't get married until later, but yeah, sorry there. Now, I was divorced from her. My children are by her,
Okay.
and Reba and I met in Midland, Texas, and we're certainly glad we met in Midland, Texas.
Right. Right. Well, what happened at the end of your 30-day leave?
Went back to, during the 30-day leave, they dropped the bombs on Japan, and almost straight away the war was over.
Right.
And of course we knew at that point that I would get a discharge.
Right.
And so, but I had to go back and hang around down there for a
Go
while.
back to San Antonio for a little
Yeah.
bit. Well, I was hoping you were going to say it was going to work that way,
Yeah,
because
they discharged guys as quickly as they could. It was a job to handle the volume of paperwork, even I'm sure that that would take place.
and I've had lots of people tell me that they came back to like Kansas, but in order to be properly discharged, they had to go some wild place, back to Boston
Wow.
or something
Oh,
like
my.
that to actually
Well,
sign out on the
I'm
deal.
glad that didn't happen.
Yeah.
It turned out real
Good.
fast and real simple for us.
Because these guys were irritated that they had to take a cross-country trip
Yeah.
just to get out of the Army or whatever.
Yeah.
Well, while all of that was going on, were you thinking about what you would do after the war was over? Did you have a big plan?
I don't think I did. It just seemed that it fell naturally in place. About 3 or 4 of us came back home and decided on the same thing, and that was to enroll in Texas Tech University in Lubbock, which we did. And the GI Bill was already in place
Right.
for that.
That was a great thing.
Isn't that something? That's more of that tremendous planning that somebody did.
Right. Well, I've had so many guys, that had left to go to the war. They had left a rocky little farm that had starved their father and their grandfather before that. And if the war had not happened, and if the GI Bill had not come along, they would have been stuck on that same rocky place out in the middle of nowhere.
Yeah.
And a lot of them decided, well, I'll be a doctor or a lawyer or engineer or something like that.
Yeah.
And the GI Bill allowed them to do it.
Sure, it was a tremendous It was really a good thing. It really was. I don't think that well, I don't know. I might not have been able to go to Texas Tech. I could have gone. We had a university near there. I think I could have at Denton, North Texas State University at Denton, Texas, which is about 40 miles from us.
What did you go study to be?
I started out and enrolled for a semester in electrical engineering, and straightway I and the instructors all realized that my little country school background didn't give me enough mathematics, basic knowledge of mathematics that I needed,
Right.
particularly for electrical engineering. And so I changed majors and went into business administration and got a BBA in business, and with a business management as the major. And it was good. It was a good choice for me. And after a try or two with a couple of companies, I wound up with Continental Oil Company, Conoco. It was by itself then, and stayed. That was my career with Conoco.
What city did you live in?
In production, oil production, and the administrative end of that. Well, I was out in the field for some time, a few months, but got finally just as I was like in Odessa, Texas. I was the office manager there, and jobs similar to that along the way in my years, and wound up in our company headquarters for production was in Houston, Texas, and I was one of their senior analysts there, and did various projects. Most of it was with natural gas at that time. And before I got down there, I managed to, in Midland, Texas, I enrolled in college and took a master's program and got my master's degree at
University of Texas.
what was the name of our college there? Good grief.
University of Texas.
University of Texas.
Odessa.
University of Texas of the Permian Basin. that was the school.
What's
It
the
was
name?
halfway between Midland and Odessa.
What was that out there? So you're doing Midland, Odessa, Houston.
Yeah,
You know, right.
wound up in Houston, and retired from there.
Well, how did you get to Fort Smith? I mean to Greenwood.
Greenwood, Arkansas. Okay. I retired. We retired from Conoco, and we were in Midland, Texas. And Reba's daughter, who is a CPA, an accountant, took a job at in Arkansas at a town down below Little Rock. anyway, they prevailed on us, and we came out and stayed around a while and decided that we would move to Arkansas and sold her house in Midland and moved there. Then she transferred up here, and we followed, and it's great. We have certainly enjoyed our stay in this country.
And what year did you all get married?
1977,
Seven.
You said-
78.
So you're not newlyweds.
Right,
No.
31 years.
No, not newlyweds.
So
We've had a very good life, just enjoying each other, that
Right.
is.
right. Well, except for falling down a little bit.
Oh, man,
you all
I've
are
got
still in pretty good shape, and
Yeah.
look like you're enjoying yourself. And you have cat children over here in this chair that I can tell
Yeah.
somebody
So, yeah,
takes care of very
good
well.
grief. Yeah. We have, I didn't mention that, Reba has 2 children,
Mhm.
and I have 3.
Three.
So we have a family of 5,
Right.
and lots of grandkids.
Right. Well, that's great. Well, it sounds like you had a pretty good life.
It's been great.
When the Yanks raise the stars and stripes on Iwo Jima Isle, through the blood and tears they won through. Bless the heart of each Yankee there on Iwo Jima Isle, resting neath the blanket of blue. High on the hill of Surabaki waves old glory, and she always will. When the Yanks raise the stars and stripes on Iwo Jima Isle, there were tears in their hearts, though they smiled. Stars and stripes on Iwo Jima Isle, through the blood and tears they won through. Bless the heart of each Yankee there on Iwo Jima Isle, resting neath the blanket of blue. High on the hill of Surabaki waves old glory, and she always will. When the Yanks raise the stars and stripes on Iwo Jima Isle, there were tears in their hearts, though they smiled.